Hey guys, welcome back to Cookie and Screams. Today we're going to be doing a slightly different sort of video for our bonus Wednesday video. Today I want to have a look at some of the macro gameplay that you can think about while you're playing Sadako. This is the sort of thing where it's sometimes a little bit tricky to get across what I'm thinking in the moment because it's all happening very quickly during a game. But I have a pre-recorded game for you that I recorded a while ago that I think has some pretty good examples of some macro gameplay that we can think about when we're playing Sadako, and so we will be going through that, and I will be calling out the sort of things that I'm thinking of that I might not think about saying in the moment. So the first video we're going to look at is a pretty good example of switching up the game plan, essentially. So I started the game with a game plan. It didn't quite go the way I wanted, and so partway through the game I realized I could switch up the game plan and apply pressure in a different way. And so we're going to have a quick look at that, and hopefully it will help you out if you're struggling against survivors doing very well on generators or whatever. It can help you hopefully work out when and how you can switch up the game plan to something different and still get some pressure on the survivors. So let's get into the footage. So as you can see, we are in on Dead Dog Saloon in this game. I will somewhat apologize for the video quality. This was recorded back when I was doing 1080p rather than 4K like I do now, so the video quality isn't amazing, but I do believe the showcase is good enough that I think it can still be educational. So I'm generally fairly happy loading into Dead Dog because it has a couple of pretty good TVs that can spawn, or that will spawn, sorry. One of the strongest parts of Dead Dog in terms of survivor side is the main. Dead Dog Saloon is renowned for having one of the safest main buildings for survivors to loop on, because it has that abundance of windows and the balcony upstairs, and then you can run downstairs, and survivors can run Dead Dog Saloon for a very long time. But as Sadako, we have a guaranteed TV that spawns just inside the front door of Saloon. This covers a lot of the main building with a condemnation. With condemnation, especially when running the videotape copy add-on, which we are doing in this game. And we also have another guaranteed TV that spawns on Gallows, just underneath the platform. And between those two TVs, you actually cover a lot of the center of the map. Gallows covers Shack and a lot of that top part of the middle of the map, and then the one in the Saloon covers a lot of the street where that pallet is that spawns out the front with the vulture, and also a lot of the main building. This means that you can apply a lot of condemnation in that central area, which survivors will cross through a lot if they're doing tape runs. You'll see in a second we also have another couple of TVs that make that net even bigger, but we will see those in a second. Now, one thing to think about as well is the condemnation pressure versus projection pressure. I will recommend going to check out Bill the Thrall's Guide to Sadako, where he goes into a lot more detail about the difference between the two, and it really helped me in how I think about Sadako and her TVs. But the general gist is that TVs that are easy to access to the generator have high projection pressure, because you can teleport there and and chase survivors almost instantly, but at the same time those tend to have lower condemnation pressure because the survivors can quickly hop off the generator and turn the TV off without losing too much. Vice versa, TVs that are on different floors or in different rooms will tend to have higher condemnation pressure because it's a lot harder for the survivors to turn the TVs off if they're working on the gen, but at the same time you lose out on the protection pressure because you can't access the gen as quickly when you teleport there. The TVs in Saloon and Gallows are somewhat middle of the road, but they tend to be higher on condemnation pressure because if the survivors want to turn them off, they have to get off the gen, they have to drop down, turn the TV off, and then climb all the way back up again. And so that's part of the reason why I quite enjoy Dead Dog Saloon as Sadako. Now, let us get into this gameplay. Now, our spawn location isn't great, but we want to quickly check out the totems. We see scratch marks there in the distance. We see him running off in that direction, but we know that's not where the survivors spawned, so we want to come this way, check out the totems. We see more scratch marks here. Nobody on this totem though. I do quickly lose track of which direction those scratch marks are going, but we're going over here. Now generally you want to find a survivor and hit them when running this build, which is the side quest Sadako build that we have done several times before. You generally want to find a survivor and hit them to activate the Face of Darkness before the TVs turn on, so that you can instantly start teleporting around and applying that condemnation without having to worry about the totems so much, because you'll have Face the Darkness. Now unfortunately we haven't quite managed to do that here, but we know the survivor's running this direction, so we quickly use our blood fingernails to get that hit. Now you can see here, this TV in front of us is the one I was talking about, the guaranteed TV spawn in front of main. But we also have one at the back there in that chest location on the back lower balcony by the back door of main as well. This increases our net nice and large as well. You'll see we also have a hex totem there. I believe that's the Face the Darkness that just activated. Because we saw the other two hex totems on the other side of the street earlier. Now what we're doing here, we're not interested in chasing this Jake into main. Like I said, this is an incredibly safe building for survivors to chase in, but we can get some condemnation out. So we're going to teleport to this TV here and get some condemnation out on him here, and then we're going to think about going up here, but we're actually just going to teleport to this TV here, get some more condemnation out on him, and now we try and go to that TV but don't quite get in time. But we know that Ace just picked up a tape, and so he's going to be coming across the map. So we try and intercept him, get an injury out. We see the Michaela going for that TV over there, and we'll head over here, get some more condemnation, and get another injury. This early part of the game, we're just trying to get condemnation out, get injuries out. We're not necessarily looking for downs, but we're just trying to get that condemnation out. Now we see here on the left that the Ace is the only person who's taken a tape out, and we know which tape he took out. It was that one over in the far corner to our right currently, which means his TV is probably that one that we can see off in the distance near the middle right of our screen. But we're not going to go out of our way, but we know that he's likely crossing the map at this point to head that direction. So Michaela takes that window. We're not that interested. We're going to head to this Gallows TV here. Now I was expecting to find the Ace here, but in fact I find the Jake, and at this point I realise something. This Jake, I haven't been keeping track of it hugely, but in the back of my mind I'm always sort of, out of the corner of my eye, I'm always checking, I'm always keeping an eye on the survivor portraits to see when they light up. And in the back of my mind I realise that this Jake has been hit by a lot of condemnation at this point. and he hasn't had a chance to grab a tape to cleanse it. Now, I know the survivors have a decent amount of pressure out. They've already completed a gen. We know the one in front of Shaq is also fairly high progress. There's likely somebody on main as well, because we haven't checked that in a while. So, we know the survivors have a lot of gen progress, but we have an opportunity here to maybe fully condemn this Jake. Now, like I said, usually I wouldn't chase this Jake because he's our face the darkness target. We'd usually leave him alone until he healed or whatever, because then we get the screams. It helps protect our totems. But in this situation, I realize that maybe I can just take a survivor out of the game nice and early. So we switch our game plan to chasing this Jake, and we're gonna see if we can shepherd him towards some TVs. So we shepherd him towards this one. This is the other TV that I was talking about that expands our net. Because we have this generator behind us that is spawned in the middle of the street in front of Shaq, that means this TV here in front of Shaq has also spawned. So we have a TV here, we have a TV at Gallows in front of us, we have a TV in the front of main, and a TV in the back of main. That is an enormous condemnation net for any survivor who's trying to do a tape run from one side of the map to the other. It also means that any survivors doing tape runs either have to run an extremely far distance to put their tapes in, or they're going to be basically in front of us in the middle of the map if they ever try and do it, which means it forces the survivors to either go a huge amount of the way out of the way to cleanse their condemn, or to have to cleanse their condemn in front of us. This is one of the reasons I really like Dead Dog, especially if you can get a setup like this. So, now we're going back into the Jake. We're trying to shepherd him vaguely towards TVs that are on. I know there's a TV over in that corner. I'm just trying to keep him vaguely nearby until that TV turns on, so hopefully we can teleport there. Unfortunately, we see Michaela coming in to deposit her tape, so we know she's not great. Ace is already also here, but we're more interested in the Jake because we know he's very high condemn. Now, I forgot that I haven't broken this pallet yet, so like I said, survivors have a lot of gen progress. We knew that one at the front was at the front of Shaq was quite high, but we are just trying to shepherd this Jake towards this. So now we shepherd him towards this TV here. That gets him another stack of condemn. Now he's very highly condemned. I do somewhat lose his scratch marks, which is a bit unfortunate. So I just teleport over to the corner of the map. Now this teleport here isn't because I think I'm going to catch anyone over here. I already know this generator is completed. There's nothing over here for the survivors to do other than tape runs. But the benefit of having a TV like this is that you can just use it for condemnation without having to worry about removing a useful teleport spot. So that's what I'm doing here, is I'm teleporting a long way away to a TV that I know is not important to apply condemnation on the rest of the map. And, as we can see, it works. He gets caught by that TV in front of main as he's running through the middle of the map. Like I said, having 4 TVs means that very often at least one of them is going to be turned on, and we just have this sort of net in the middle of the map that has a lot of condemnation pressure, and so we managed to catch him here. Now we know that there's no TV here for him to go take a tape out of. There's very little here. Looks like Ace is going to try and body block. We don't quite manage to get the pallet thing, but this is another fun thing that happens quite often. Survivors will, if there's a survivor who is fully condemned, survivors will quite often try to body block. And on the plus side, as Sadako, you can just demanifest and walk through survivors. Now he's running into a dead zone, there's nothing here, and we've just managed to take out a survivor with 0 hooks. And that's what I mean about switching up the game plan. Usually, I wouldn't bother chasing the Jake because he's the Face of Darkness target. But because I'd realised that he'd been hit by a lot of condemnation and hadn't been able to cleanse it, I realised that chasing him means I can get a survivor out of the game very quickly if I can shepherd him towards some TVs and then project to them. And it actually works out. Now we know they're up on main, so we're just going to use this one. There goes a totem, but at this point, like, we're not that fast. They managed to get ruined. Once again, teleporting over here. We know the ace was over here at one point, but it's also it's an unimportant gen. It's an unimportant TV. We don't mind teleporting here just to spread out some condemnation. Now we managed not to hit anyone here, which means that nobody was in range, but we do manage to catch this Michaela. We just walk through the pallet. Survivors, once again, then very they're very it's very unexpected for you to just straight up walk through a pallet. A lot of survivors don't expect it, so we're just going to relight this into a Pentimento and see if we can find someone. We managed to sneak up on the ace here. Meanwhile, we know where the Nia is. Now, the potentially correct decision here would be to leave the ace on the ground and immediately go to where the Nia just cleansed the totem. Once again, using these corner TVs to just apply some condemnation. We're now heading back into the middle of the map because we know they just got an unhook. We're not interested in tunneling Michaela out. We're more interested in where this Neo went. But we see the scratch marks, so once again, always constantly teleporting to get that condemnation out. Ooh, we don't quite hit that, but we're just going to see if we can shepherd her. Oh, she gets caught out by our phasing. She's running into main. Once again, we're not interested in chasing main, so we're just going to teleport here, hit her with that condemnation. We hear her upstairs, so then we teleport to the front of main to hit her with some more condemnation. I figure may as well break this at this time. And as the unhook comes out, that TV's just respawned as well. We hear them jumping on the gen. Once again, we think about. I did think about going after the Nia there and getting that condemnation. It can be very tempting to tunnel vision on survivors with full condemnation, but she already has a tape. We can see that on her HUD, so she might be on her way. She's also on the other side of the map. Much better to just take the hook on the Michaela, get her on death hook. But we see the ace coming over here. We know he can't have cleansed his condemn because he came over here to pick up a tape. So we can just take him out, and we hear the Nia. And oh, that quite often will happen. That is a bug with Face the Darkness. It ends up happening quite often with Sadako, but essentially if you Mori a survivor, it can happen in other situations, but it happens very often when you Mori. If you Mori a survivor while Face the Darkness is up, you will quite often continue to get noise notifications from their corpse. It's a bug that's been in the game for a very long time. Hopefully they fix it at some point, but until now, just remember that that is what you're seeing there. So if you're getting notifications like that, pay attention to whether or not there is actually a scream accompanying it. With Face the Darkness, you will get the noise notification, but you will also hear a scream. But if the survivor is dead, obviously they won't scream, you will just get the noise notification. So we know that that's something that we don't really have to pay attention to. At this point, we know the Nia should be nearby to get in the save, so we get the teleport. We get the hook and lock in that condemnation. Now at this point, we know that Michaela has a lot of condemnation locked in. Because she's been hooked twice. I haven't been paying attention to exactly how much, but we know that she has quite a lot, so at this point the game's a fairly foregone conclusion. The Nia has Deliverance, but yeah, there's the Michaela. She's just turned off that TV at the back of main, but once again we have the TV at the front of main as well, and Bloody Fingernails just gets us that move speed. Now we also know that Nia is fairly high condemnation. We see that there's no hatch in Shack, so we just go up. We manage to hit her with that. We find the scratch marks, and we have the hatch before she did. And at this point, she realizes it's over. But I know she's fairly high condemnation, so we do that, and true enough, we get the quadruple inexorable Slayer Mori. And that all happened because we made that decision nice and early to switch our target to the Jake when we were chasing the Ace. We found the Jake and realized he was very high condemnation, and we could just take him out of the game nice and quickly. It did take a little bit longer than I'd like. He was very good at staying away from the TVs, but in the end, we did manage to take it. And once he was out of the game was pretty much over at that point. It was just a matter of getting condemnation on the rest of them. So I hope that was a little bit information for you. Maybe it can help you understand what it is that I'm looking at, why I'm teleporting to TVs in the corner of the map, even though I know that nobody's there to apply condemnation on the rest of the map, that sort of thing. And yeah, I hope that was good. Now you can see this game we spawned in Coldwind Farm, the Thompson house. Now I'm not the biggest fan of the Coldwind Farm maps on Sadako. They're quite big. It's very easy to lose people in the corn. They're pretty open. The TVs tend to be pretty out in the open as well, so there's not a huge amount of condemnation pressure. And so in this particular map, I realized that I need to play slightly differently to how I would usually do. Usually, like I said, this build, usually you'd find a survivor, you'd injure them, and then you'd try to use your condemnation and the hexes to apply a lot of pressure and get condemnation out. I realized that this game, I'm very unlikely to get kills passively with condemnation. And so you'll see that this time we switch up the game plan pretty much from the beginning of the game. We've also spawned incredibly centrally, which is very unhelpful because it does mean that you have very little direction as to where the survivors have spawned. We do catch the survivors here though. We do spot a Sable around here as well as the Lara, so we go for the Sable because she's in a slightly worse position. We try and fake her out on the TL, but she doesn't go for the mind game. So at this point, we just start trying to get some value out. This Lara ends up being fairly strong in chase. Very good at these 50-50s without dropping. So we just demanifest so that we don't get stunned, and we'll just start taking them out. We spot a Sable here. who's very much out of position, so we do leave her with Face the Darkness. It is still a big part of the game plan, but I'm also not interested in chasing this Lara. We had a noise notification. Unfortunately, Sprint Burst exists. Now we know about it. But at this point, I now know that we're not going to get a huge amount of condemnation out. So what we're doing here is we end up projecting very aggressively in chase. Just let him drop that pallet. Okay. Yep, they've already cleansed the totem. Yeah, we're mainly just trying to keep the survivors occupied. That's another thing survivors will do quite often. If they see you manifesting, experienced survivors will try and run into you to make you lose your bearings. Now, unfortunately, I spent way too long on this pallet. I should just break it. But in this case, we're trying to force the Lara into the range of that TV so that we can possibly catch it. Unfortunately, it's just a little bit too long for bloody fingernails. Once again, we're not particularly interested in chasing a main, so we just wait for her to hop out, hit her with condemnation from this TV. Probably break this. We're going to break this for later because we're probably going to need to. But once again, not particularly interested in the Lara. Not even very sure how I got into chase with her there. Oh, she was outside. She must have just vaulted the window. But yes, we're essentially trying to shepherd this Lara into active TVs and then projecting to them to hit her with condemnation and then try and chase her down with bloody fingernails. She has that timing very well down. So we're just going to hit her with this. You see the two Sables have already cleansed their condemnation, but we've kept this Lara occupied so much in chase that she has not had a chance to cleanse her condemnation. And that's the game plan here. I know we're not going to get a huge amount out of our passive slowdown because the map is so large and the TVs are so easily accessible. And the totems are fairly easy to find as well on this map, as you can see there. So we switch up the game plan almost instantly, and this is a more chase-focused Sadako, where we're using our perks because we have them. Once again, we leave that Sable, and once again, the Sable is holding Faith the Darkness, and also has 0 condemnation, so there's very little pressure that we have on her. But you see that instead of teleporting around a lot and trying to apply condemnation map wide, we're instead teleporting almost exclusively in chase to try and catch the survivor we're currently in chase with. We're just going to relight this and then head back to this Sable that we were chasing because we know she's fairly high condemn, and we're trying to shepherd her back into that TV there, which she's very nicely done for us. By holding that check spot, it means that we can get this condemnation out. And now we know she's very high condemn. I'm assuming that Leon's on the totem, but doesn't quite slow him down enough because they've already cleansed Thrill of the Hunt, which I believe was that totem originally. So we just take the injury and head back to Hope the Sable. Now these hooks, you generally want to try and hook near TVs, because if the survivors don't turn them off, it gives you a teleport point to come back to the hook and spread condemn to 2 different survivors, which is nice. Now we saw the scratch marks there, but they were leading to Shaq, and likely the Sable, who once again has no condemnation, so we're perfectly happy to leave that. Turns out it was actually Leon there, so we could have chased that. But now we know he has Sprint Burst, so we just let him use Sprint Burst. We've already taken out a lot of the pallets in this area, and once again, fairly short chase. But this sort of game plan is a more chase oriented Sadako, where we're projecting aggressively in order to get our condemnation out, rather than relying on it happening passively. And once again, this is the Sable that we were chasing earlier. She hasn't had a chance to cleanse her condemn after we hooked her. So once we managed to catch her on a TV, we now this Sable here is coming in for blinds and body blocks. I'm assuming she does that to let the Sable escape, but the other Sable actually doesn't leave, and she sticks at Shaq, which is perfectly fine with me. We try and mind game this, but she's not having any of it. But this is what I was talking about in the other game. Survivors will quite often try to body block you. Just doesn't work as Sadako, and of course the flashlight blind also doesn't work. Now we're just going to teleport here, because 90% sure she's not here, but we know she's going to be heading somewhere across the map. And once again, back into chase, projecting aggressively. That noise notification you hear off to the side there, that's another bugged Face the Darkness. You can tell because there's no scream attached to it. And at this point, it doesn't matter who we chase at this point. Pretty sure Leon has more condemnation than the Sable. Don't quite make the pallet, but we're not that interested. He thought we were going to mind game, I guess. But yeah, Leon's already been hooked once, so at least we can get him on death hook. Maybe lock in some condemnation. We see Sable has just turned the TV off. She's just taken a tape. So we're going to have a look. That's the bugged Face the Darkness scream. Now you can say I wasn't actually expecting the Sable to rescue there, and I don't have any TVs over there, which is a bit of a shame. Now, I'm assuming this is Decisive Strike dead hard, so we're just going to put him into deep wound and leave. Once again, I know that scream's not the Sable, but we know the Sable was over in this direction. At some point, I want to go check out that totem, and that's the closest TV that I had. Now at this point, we're just kind of looking for the condemnation. We don't see it, but we do just hear the Sable's injury noises, which allows us to get back into chase with her. She has cleansed her condemnation, but Leon hasn't, so it seems like Leon has given up at this point. I thought about teleporting to see if I could find the Sable, but at this point, there's no real reason. We're just going to see who gets hatched first. We check out Shaq, because hatching Shaq is very common. We managed to get lucky on our second teleport, and we managed to find the hatch. Now this I get somewhat distracted by that one. But this one, I realise that if I come up here, I can actually see both gates from this balcony, which is kind of dirty. I'm just like, can I see the lights? Just about. Unfortunately, Sadako is really short, and that banister is getting somewhat in the way. But we see the Sable there, and we managed to catch her out. Sorry, Sable. No mercy. And yeah, so that was a game where we see the sort of map that we've loaded into, and we switch up the game plan almost immediately to an aggressively projecting in chase style of gameplay, just using the perks as mild slowdown rather than the main game plan. And yeah, you'll notice that besides the Leon, who had pretty much given up at that point, basically none of our condemnation in that game happened passively. It was all pretty much like the Sables were constantly cleansing of their condemnation. I was never holding much on them until I got into chase with them and was aggressively shepherding them towards TVs. Well, I hope that those couple of pre-recorded games were somewhat educational. Like I said, this is our sort of different video for our bonus videos for Wednesdays, and yeah, I hope these sort of voiceovers and things helped you understand a little bit of the more macro gameplay side of Sadako, about when to switch up your game plan and how you can do so by switching to a more chase-oriented sort of mindset and shepherding survivors towards TVs so you can project to them. Now, you will likely do this a bit in normal games, but like I said, I usually use the perks as the main focus, as the slowdown, and a lot of the condemnation happens passively, and I will try and sort of hit and run, leave survivors to go and catch people doing tape runs, that sort of thing. But in these games, I realized that that wasn't going to be a viable option, or that there was a better option available to me, as in the case of the first game, and switched up the game plan to facilitate a more aggressive playstyle. And so, yeah, hopefully you can learn to understand these sorts of things. Also, the not just using TVs as teleport points, but understanding which TVs you can use to teleport to gain more condemnation on the rest of the map without removing a useful teleport point, like those ones in the corner of the Dead Dog Saloon map, where we teleport over there to spread the condemnation before heading back to where we actually want to be. So, if you did enjoy the video, or maybe you found it useful or educational, please do leave a like on the video. If you have any questions or requests, please feel free to leave a comment with them, and I will try and get back to you either down in the comments or in a future video. Please feel like if you enjoyed it and maybe want to see more, please think about subscribing. It really does help out. And until next time, sweet screams.